Welcome everyone to the March 12th, 2023 edition of the Boxing Source Radio Show. We are checking in here live on YouTube, and this will be available via replay on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify, and also Amazon Music. So, for those that are listening through the repeat or recording, we thank y'all for listening in there for that. But here in this particular episode, we are going to go into the fight that took place over in Australia yesterday. As you had Tim Tszyu going up against Tony Harrison, so we're getting right into it with that. You know what I'm saying? This was about that was for the WBO interim super welterweight title. Tim Tszyu was coming into this fight at 21-0, with Tony Harrison going into this bout with a record of 29 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Now, Tim Tszyu was, slated to face the undisputed champion at 154 pounds, Jermell Charlo, but due to injuries suffered to Jermell, that fight wasn't able to take place. That fight was scheduled to be on January 28th over in Las Vegas, Nevada. But due to Jermell Charlo suffering a hand injury, that fight couldn't necessarily take place. So they had scheduled for Tim Tszyu to have a bout against Tony Harrison. Of course, Tony Harrison is a former world champion, guy that did defeat Jermell Charlo for the WBC belt, back in 2018, but ended up losing that belt in a rematch in 2019, and just had three. Well, pretty much this was his third bout since that rematch to Jermell Charlo. He fought Brian Perella, good fella Perella, to a draw, and then he fought Sergio Garcia last year to a unanimous decision win that was pretty much like a clean sweep. And so you had him in this position to fight Tim Tszyu here for that WBO interim super welterweight title. And this one was, for me going into it, a very good matchup, given where both of those guys are at, in their professional careers, respectively. Like I said, Tim Tszyu was, just about to face Jermell Charlo for the undisputed super welterweight titles, but he hadn't really had a bout against a fighter that was, around the top 10 or so within the 154-pound division. So people really wanted to see like how he would fare against someone that kind of like is rated there among the top 10, and so you have Tony Harrison, like I said, there as a guy that was a former world champ, did have a good showing against Sergio Garcia, much better showing against Sergio Garcia than the WBC interim champions Sebastian Fundora had against Sergio Garcia. So, at the time, it just seemed like he was still there as a valid contender in the 154-pound division. So, really wanted to see what Tim Tszyu was going to be able to do against Tony Harrison there. And I'll lead off with this saying that, I was not sold, up to a point there with Tim Tszyu going into this fight against Tony Harrison, given his previous few fights against Terrell Garcia, against Takeshi Inoue, among others. So I really wanted to see what Tim Tszyu was going to be able to do against someone like Tony Harrison, who was there with the height and the reach, so that we'd be able to see how Tim Tszyu was going to be able to deal with that. And going into this bout, I said that I was going to be fairly confident that Tony Harrison was going to win this bout. Yep, I said it, that I felt like Tony Harrison was going to win this bout, that Tim Tszyu wouldn't be able to adjust to the abilities that Tony Harrison had, going into this fight. And in the first round and first couple of rounds, I thought that, it was going to basically be that. You really didn't see much activity coming from Tim Tszyu early. And from Tony Harrison, what you saw was a left jab that seemed really fierce, and was something that came to be a very stiff jab that landed seriously on Tim Tszyu early. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was going to be the recurring theme there for the course of the fight, which in a sense it was, but it wasn't to the point where it could have really opened up more things there for Tony Harrison. Was he scoring very well with the left jab? Yes. Was he doing much after that left jab? No. And the thing is that yes, the jab can be the most powerful punch in boxing or in a fight, but you got to be able to do or develop things from that in order to become more successful against your opponent. And so, while Tony Harrison was scoring well with the left jab, especially early in the fight, those first few rounds, there wasn't really much else that he did coming from that other than, moving and a little bit of feints and stuff like that. But you didn't really see much, offense after that for, a good amount of time within the course of this fight. And so with that being said, Tim Tszyu was just staying there, staying patient, really didn't move, his head around that much. He was just there, right there, stationary, for Tony Harrison to land that jab. But he just felt like, what, I'm going to, try to walk through this, and then try to get into range. And then when I get into range, every single punch that I'm going to throw, I'm going to make sure that it counts as much as possible. And so that's what he was doing there, starting within the second round, going into the third, is that, once he got into range, he, landed power shots, to the body, a couple of right hands, upstairs, especially with Tony Harrison having his left hand low. When Tony Harrison was in his stance, he had, his right hand up pretty much close to his chin, but his left hand was down close to his waist. So he was throwing the left jab coming from his waist, coming up towards Tim Tszyu. And for me, when I saw that early, I felt like that was an issue or that was a problem, because if there was like something where Tim Tszyu would have, either, some type of move where he could slip and encounter with a right, or he could throw a lead right hand, he wouldn't really have to worry about much from Tony Harrison as far as like blocking that particular shot. And so, instead of, him like kind of like throwing the lead right hands, what Tim Tszyu was doing was kind of like, saying, hey, I'm going to try to go through that left jab, but I'm going to counter off of that left jab. And so, in the second and third rounds, you've seen that he was, fairly successful with those counters. But the other thing for me is that, Tim Tszyu, is known as being somewhat of a come forward fighter, but he's more of like a linear fighter. So you could go left, you could go right, and he would have to reset. But Tony Harrison, being a guy with the, taller fighter, the better range or the longer range and everything like that, he backed up to the ropes. And I'm like, well, if you got somebody that, is a straightforward fighter and, tries to do things where he's trying to cut off the ring, you know what I'm saying? Why are you backing yourself up to the ropes? You pretty much, giving Tim Tszyu the ability to try to get to you by backing yourself up to the ropes and limiting your ability to move around the ring. Now, real quick, wanted to add in a panelist to this discussion here for this Tim Tszyu fight that he had against Tony Harrison, a longtime guest here on the Boxing Source. That is the Boxing Academic. What's going on?
Not much, not much. I hear that you're getting into the fight. Just looking forward to hear what you got to say, and then I'll, obviously give my thoughts after you,
True.
because you were finishing what you were saying. I think.
True. Now, like I was saying in reference to Tim Tszyu, he was someone like that was coming forward there against Tony Harrison, where from what I was seeing, if you would have moved to the left or moved to the right, or at least tried to throw your jab and then try to move around or throw like a 1-2 and then move around, then you would have Tim resetting himself. But Tony Harrison didn't necessarily do that. It almost seemed like he was perfectly content with just throwing a jab, landing the jab, and then not doing much else after that. But you seen at the beginning of rounds like 3, rounds 4, and stuff like that, that Tony Harrison kind of started, coming forward, and then he would just it's almost like he instinctively backed up to the ropes and just trying to fight off the ropes, and when you do that, like I said, you pretty much limiting your advantage of having that reach advantage. So you're having Tim Tszyu basically come to you, and he don't have to do that much work, So Tim Tszyu was able to work on the inside. He was able to, land some good shots there, on the inside, and like I said, Tony Harrison just limited his offense by, having his back to the ropes, not moving or having that ability to move around the ring or whatnot, and not having the fight be at the center of the ring. Now, if it means that he didn't necessarily have legs for this, I don't know. But he was, claiming leading into the fight that this was like his easiest camp. So I don't know, what that was all about. If you couldn't necessarily move around the ring or something, but it just seemed like the opportunities to take advantage of, what openings that Tim Tszyu had were there, and he just didn't really take advantage of it. And like I said, outside of the jab that was landing fairly well early in the fight, I really didn't see much coming out of Tony Harrison until like what it was, the 7th or 8th round, where you had Tony Harrison and Tim Tszyu pretty much fight the majority of the round on the inside and were in close quarters. And when that was happening, Tony Harrison was landing a few good shots, a few good hooks upstairs, couple of uppercuts too, but nothing that really kind of said that okay, he could have more confidence into really doing this thing, because it seemed like he was boxing pretty well, but like I said, if you're giving your opponent the ability to come to you and not really work for that, then you're pretty much like having his energy be conserved for the later rounds. So going into the 8th and into the 9th round, I felt like it was a really close fight up to that point. And then in the 9th round, pretty much at that first part of the 9th round, that was like the first time in for the majority of the fight that I had seen both of those guys standing at the center of the ring, right? But that was when I was waiting for Tony Harrison to try to do something to, try to box and move or box and slip. But he didn't throw pretty much like any punches, at that point. And then all of a sudden you see where Tim Tszyu was able to, connect, with the right hand that, kind of temporarily stunned Tony Harrison. And then you had Tim Tszyu had the lead left hand pretty much like open, didn't really throw it, but he had it like up there, like right in front of Tony Harrison's face. And then he just shot back in with another right hand that, stunned and backed up Tony Harrison to the ropes where he was in trouble. And then that's where you're seeing Tim Tszyu pretty much go on the offensive while having Tony Harrison on the ropes, landing a couple of uppercuts. A few didn't land, a few didn't land. Tony Harrison tried to slip, but then he ended up like turning himself towards the ropes or having his face toward the ropes, and then ended up getting hit with another series of uppercuts from Tim Tszyu, and then went down to canvas. And he was given the count. He got up. He walked over to the left as the referee instructed. Walked a little bit over to the right. But then the referee just said like he didn't feel like he was able to continue, so they waved off the bout. So it was a ninth round TKO victory for Tim Tszyu, for him to have that WBO interim super welterweight title. And he will, eventually face Jermell Charlo, probably still be over in Las Vegas, Nevada here later this year. And Tim Tszyu stays undefeated. That is registers as his 16th knockout victory there. But, for me, I just felt like, Tony Harrison had a number of openings there for him to really be successful against Tim Tszyu, but it just really didn't look like he was completely into the bout. Like I felt like he was very successful with the jab early, but he just didn't, work out, work other or do something other than the jab. You know what I mean? Like he didn't. And I think you kind of like mentioned this in the discussion boxing academic. Like he had like something where he could have thrown the double jab and then shot in with the right, but he just didn't do it. And there were other times where I felt like he could have, set up Tim Tszyu with a feint and then just come in with a lead right or something. But all he was, it was almost like he was content with scoring with a jab and not much else after that. So I mean that's generally what I got overall with this particular fight. Boxing academic, what did you see in there that stood out for this fight between Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison?
So I'm saying this in hindsight and knowing the outcome of the match and knowing what happened from the beginning to the end and everything in between.
Right.
Tony Harrison has been in a number of wars where some of them he got the best of them. Some other ones, as of late, he didn't get the best of them. Obviously the ones with Charlo. And you can see the effects of that on him. So he's already behind the 8 ball in one really important attribute of a fighter. His win is not exceptional. It's I was about to say average at best, but I don't want to go viral.
At best.
So his win is average at best. And, with that being said, what he did have, and he still has this, but obviously with diminishing returns, what he had in his favor was that he was a tough SOB. Like he never truly wanted to quit. But I don't know if I saw a man in that ring who was willing to go to a place that he would have needed to have gone, which was a place of danger. I'm not trying to sound like Taddy Atlas, but Taddy Atlas say this stuff very well, and I'm just saying this, and I felt like I sounded like him, but I'm just throwing this out. But it's like he wasn't willing to go to that place of danger where on the other side of that danger could have been fame and glory. I mean, he got fame, but glory. And when I say that, he was content, as you said, with throwing only the left hand, only throwing the jab, backing up, throwing the jab. And he knew he was on borrowed time. He knew that his win was not going to last forever. And I saw a man, to me, hindsight, looking at the beginning to the end, who was sort of pacing himself in a sense and, may not have in his mind, didn't know whether he was going to get to the end of the fight, which that and being afraid of what was coming back limited him from throwing his right hand. There's no way you can win this level of fight by not throwing your power shot to keep this type of fighter off of you. And the whole time, sure, he had success, but imagine what kind of success he would have had he thrown the right hand. And so somebody may argue Tim Tszyu was very responsive to when he did throw the right hand and he countered him. And that could have made Tony Harrison very like cerebral in thinking about that. But what I do know, I saw a number of times, 5 or 6, where Tim Tszyu acted very, very strange when Tony Harrison double jabbed. It's like he almost didn't know what to do. And you see him like crouch or move in a certain position where his head. You remember how when Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, when before Tyson Fury understood that, hey, I'm the bigger guy, I need to act like the bigger guy. Before Tyson Fury understood that, Tyson Fury, when Deontay Wilder double jab, he would do the same thing and get his head in that right spot. For if he did throw the 2-1-1-2 or even 1-2, he would hit him, which is what happened in that first fight between Wilder and Joshua. Jumping back to this, every time he threw the double left hand, Tszyu reacted weird. And the weirdness in him acting was that he kind of covered up, but he didn't really cover up. And then he moved his head in the same spot or in the general vicinity. Mm-hmm. And I saw a number of times where he tried it a few times. He tried it maybe 3 times in the whole fight, but he threw the double jab. And then at the end of the fight, like the round before he got stopped or 2 rounds before he got stopped, you clearly saw Tszyu off balance and his head was turned to the side. All Tony Harrison, hindsight again, needed to do was be willing to go to that place. And I mean, this is obviously our view watching on TV is a lot different. So let me just say that. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I wasn't in the corner. I just can't say I recall hearing the corner say this, but how could your corner not tell you? Maybe they were telling him, but how could your corner not tell you or even see that how this man was reacting when you threw that double jab? And sure, you hadn't let your right hand off many times, but I thought that might have been his strategy. And the reason why I thought it might have been his strategy, okay, you start a fight off and you get this man one look. The only look you giving him is the jab. So he ain't used to the right hand coming. He ain't used to seeing or being in the muscle memory of seeing how you throw that right hand. He only used to you like fighting off your back foot and jabbing, maybe throwing a double jab every now and then. But when you do throw that right hand 1-2, he's very responsive and counter you or whatever. Hit you with a body shot, hit you with a head shot. I thought that was a part of the plan where they was giving him one look and making him like lull him to sleep in a sense. Mm-hmm. Get him to whatever round, and then okay, you start double jabbing. Man, I saw Creed today actually. In the beginning of the movie where he was like looking at the shot and kind of seeing his body open. Yeah. I'm thinking I was hoping that it was sort of like that, where he was like, okay, the double jab there. And then he see how he react. How could his team not see that and tell him, like, throw that? Okay, he's responsive to you when you throw the 1-2. Put 2 shots on him. Second shot ain't got to be hard, but it's to distract him. And then your real shot is the third shot when he turned his head into there. Like, I don't know if I saw a man who really wanted to win. Tony Harrison is the dog. The man is a champion in my book. But either he didn't prepare enough, and that like stopped him from being able to like go to that place, or he is a victim of his own success and like the
maybe.
Come again?
A victim of his success and also of his shortfalls.
His shortfalls. He's a victim of the matches that he's fought. Like he, I don't think he's done because I think he can beat certain people, but the weathering has affected him, even with pulling that trigger.
But that's it though. But I mean, you bring up this point in reference to going to that place, and I didn't feel like he did go to that place either. And he should have, given the circumstances of this fight, given how much is on the line in this fight. You get this fight here against, Tim Tszyu. You say like, okay, you feel like this guy could really, prove himself here in the super welterweight division. You know that if you get this win over Tim Tszyu, you don't not only hand him his first loss of his professional career, but it pretty much locks you in for a third fight against Jermell Charlo, one that you've been, looking for since that second fight. So I felt like, there's way too much on the line for you to, pretty much like slack around or not give, your complete effort. And in certain stances during the fight, I just felt like he really didn't go to that second spot. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, like throwing the double jab, he didn't really do that until like the 6th or 7th round. All he was throwing was like a lot of single punches. You really didn't see that many combinations coming from him. You seen it coming from Tim Tszyu, especially when it came off the counter. But you really didn't see that coming out of Tony Harrison. And I'm like, well, if you know how much is on the line in this fight, why aren't you, going to that second level or taking it to that spot to where you could say, hey, maybe I have Tim Tszyu in a position that he ain't really used to. You know what I'm saying?
And you saw flashes of that when he got tired and he was like, okay, let me stay on his shoulder. And the reason why Tim Tszyu didn't hit him much that round is because he stayed on his shoulder. When he was in that mid-range, Tim Tszyu was killing him. Tim Tszyu was hitting him with every punch that he could. Mm-hmm. But when he stayed on that shoulder, Tim couldn't get no punches off. One thing I do know, Jermell Charlo will double jab and eat his ass up with that right hand. I'm predicting a knockout. Because Tim Tszyu good, don't get me wrong, but he ain't at that level. They gonna even throw it in the towel, or it's gonna be one of them weird type of quitting type things where he wanna quit, but they gonna like the things that I know that Jermell Charlo can do, which is set up punches. They have worked on him with setting up them punches, and instead of just being rigid and robotic and repetitive, like he gets off that right hand and hits people clean because he sets it up. Double jab, right hand. That was open all day today.
Yeah.
Either he gonna win by landslide and get a couple knockdowns or something. Like I don't know. I hadn't seen Tim Tszyu 10, so let me slow down on that. But all I do know is that he will likely hurt him because of the clean shots that he will land on Tim Tszyu. Now, Tim Tszyu might be a dog, and he might have, like he want to keep his dad name, in everybody's mouth and stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely that Jermell Charlo all day.
Yeah, you might have that second level that, maybe Tony Harrison didn't have. Shout out to, those real quick that are listening live here on the Boxing Source, through YouTube. If you haven't done so, you could give this a particular video a like if you haven't done so. But shout out to all those in the live chat, including Alan Toussaint checking in from Belgium, all the way in Belgium right now. Wow, that's wild there. And shout out to Boxing Learner here with this comment. Saying if you can't pull the trigger in a big moment in Australia, you shouldn't be fighting. And hey, man, I pretty much agree with you on that. Like you got to know where you are at the moment, and this was Tony Harrison's moment to get himself back into the mix as one of those top contenders there at 154 pounds, and he didn't really do all that. So that was kind of a thing there that I just felt like he missed that. Shout out to Mr. Vegas also in the live chat. As you were talking about Boxing Academic there with Jermell Charlo, he said Jermell will shoot the left hook in between your shots, and he feels like that'll be Tim Tszyu's kryptonite. So and I'm saying, like, right now, Jermell Charlo has really improved in his last couple fights there. With Derek James over in the gym that they have there in Texas. So. He's really going to be looking at what Tim Tszyu is doing and kind of, move. for one, I just don't feel like he's going to have himself, be backed up to the ropes. He did that in his first fight against Brian Carlos Castaño, and that pretty much was why that fight ended up being in a draw, because I just feel like Jermell Charlo gave Castaño a lot of rounds by having his back to the ropes and having Castaño, do work right there. But once Jermell Charlo started to go on his front foot and started to work that power jab and come forward, that's when he was really, doing his thing there in the first fight. And he kind of like did that a little more and added in a couple more, elements to his game in that rematch that was in Carson, California last year. And that's how he got the stoppage victory over Brian Castaño. And I know that Tim Tszyu was there in attendance for that fight. So he's seen firsthand the amount of work or what Jermell Charlo can do there in a bout. So I'm like saying, hey, yeah, this was something for Tim Tszyu to kind of like, have himself or stamp himself as a guy there in the 154-pound division, scoring a win over a former world champion. But, sometimes, like you say, boxing academic, there's levels to this. And, some people might not be sure if Tim Tszyu is at the level that Jermell Charlo is in at this particular point.
And even the pace of the fight, like I admit I haven't watched many of Tim Tszyu's fights, so I'm not putting anything on wax here. But if that's the pace that he gonna fight Jermell Charlo, he gonna be in trouble, because what I do know is that camp had them boys prepared. They are guys who can go 12 rounds. They gonna throw a consistent number of punches. They gonna throw both hands, and they gonna land them shots. And half of the shots they throw gonna be power shots. That's a lot to deal with, man. Especially when you got deficiencies. He's good. He's good. Let me be clear about that. But things that, like somebody said in the chat, is like he couldn't pull the trigger. And maybe that means something. It means what we probably already know. He need to fight guys that are not on this level if he want to continue. Or he need to stop, which probably is the best case for him.
Yeah, it's probably the best case, man. Like, I've seen comments like saying, like, at this particular point, you can have Tony Harrison as a gatekeeper there at 154 pounds. And I'm like, well, does Tony Harrison want to basically be that at this juncture of his career? It's crazy because it's like every single one of his losses have been by knockout TKO, and every one of them have been at least after the 8th round, So it's almost like, from rounds 1 to round 8 or something, he's all good. But then after like round 9, it just seems like he's a whole different person. You know what I'm saying? And that was the thing there, man. Shout out to Mr. Vegas. He says, like, all he had to do was watch Tony's last 2 fights. His actions show everyone that he wasn't ready and ready to retire. He drew with he drew with someone we didn't know. I mean, he drew with the good fella Perella that was trained by Roy Jones Jr. at that point. But he said his actions spoke. Y'all just listen to his words. Now, the crazy thing is too, right? Before this fight was set up for Tony Harrison and Tim Tszyu, one particular fight or one potential fight could have been Tony Harrison versus Sebastian Fundora. I don't know, man. If Tony Harrison was like that against Sebastian Fundora, he might have ended up like, jeez, man. It could have been bad. Also, you also had the thing where Tony Harrison was in attendance for Danny Garcia's fight against Jose Benavidez Jr. too. So, that was also a potential fight that Tony Harrison could have had. But he ended up, in this particular position here against Tim Tszyu. And, well, like I said, I mean, he just felt like he really couldn't move. It just felt like he couldn't really move in the ring out there, because he only just backed up to the ropes and just fought the huge or vast majority of that fight on the ropes. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, like Mr. Vegas says on the live chat, Tony would have looked like Erickson Lubin did if he fought Fundora. Yeah, man. And the thing about it is that Tony Harrison, it looks like at this particular point, he really doesn't have a punch that, his opponents can respect. At least, Lubin may have, have something behind him, but Tony Harrison just doesn't look like he really has something that could really, stun his opponents. Because here against Tim Tszyu, whether it was like after the 5th round or whatever it is, he, would have, he threw a couple of uppercuts and some hooks that did land cleanly on Tim Tszyu. It just seemed like it really didn't affect Tim Tszyu like that. And I thought that would have been the case because, especially in those first few rounds, when I saw the jab landing on Tim Tszyu, I thought that was going to be a real problem, but it just didn't look like it, over the course of those rounds. Tim Tszyu was still able to walk forward. But like I said, Tony Harrison just gave himself up by backing up to the ropes, so that would be something there. Now, said a potential fight for Tim Tszyu is against Danny Garcia. If he didn't have the Charlo fight, maybe, but Danny Garcia might be facing Arizona De Lara for that WBA middleweight title or something. So that may be in the works, or unless if someone else is trying to block it there in the WBA middleweight rankings. But yeah, but Tim Tszyu, like I said, still undefeated. 22-0 now with the 16th knockout of his professional career, and is going to face Jermell Charlo, who was with the commentary team there for Showtime, that was simulcasting the fight there. So I don't know, man. Like you said, boxing academic. I feel like Jermell Charlo is just licking his fingers, like saying this might be barbecue chicken for him. Might be barbecue chicken for him because. For one thing's for sure, and I said this, I'm like, Jermell Charlo is not going to fight this fight like how he fought Brian Castano in that first fight. He's not going to be backing up to the ropes, or similar to what Tony Harrison did last night. He's not going to do that. He's going to, he's probably going to test Tszyu early and test Tszyu often. And that's going to be something that, Tim Tszyu is going to have to necessarily deal with.
Man, it's going to be a Texas brisket. That's what it's going to be.
Texas brisket? Oh, no. Oh, man, it's going to be Texas brisket. Oh, that's going to be something right there, man. So, I'm looking forward to this thing here with, Charlo and Tszyu there for the Undisputed Championship of 154. Yet another high-profile fight. That's going to happen here in 2023. Like I said, it could have happened on January 28th of this year. But, like I said, with Jermell being hurt or being injured at that time, couldn't happen. So they'll find a date in Las Vegas to, post this fight. And so we'll definitely be looking forward to that there. Kind of like revisiting other news of the week, of course. For those that didn't listen to or didn't catch the midweek report, we did talk about the press conferences between Gervonta Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. I did have Mr. Envio out on assignment for the New York press conference, so he, kind of like did talk about that for a little bit. I just feel like that is going to be probably the biggest fight that we've had in the sport, for like a long time. I know that it's like a boxing fight, but it's also an event. And I think with it being an event, having the amount of following that both of these fighters have, that it just, just culminates into something that will be a very successful pay-per-view event. And yeah, the ticket prices were already stupid before they even went on resale. Okay. They were crazy. All right. And it sold out, within that day. And the resale tickets, man, they're almost like 8 to 10 times the price of the face value is crazy, So we'll get more details, of the fight card. To know that brother Jalil Hackett, from Washington D.C., is there at 147 floating around there. He was on that fight card that was on January 7th. He says that he will be on the card likely on April 22nd. So At least we'll have young Jalil, Major Hackett that will be part of the card as well. But as far as like other fights that will be on the card, we will kind of like find out more about that later on down the line. But Boxer Academic, I ain't really get much of your thoughts about this fight between Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. So, what are your initial thoughts about it coming into the bout?
I'm favoring Tank. I will say I will give Ryan some positive traits in that he got fast hands and he is getting better. He has been improving over his last few fights. I just don't see him being able to use his range and keep Tank from uppercutting him like Hayukin style. Um, I just don't see him being able to use his range and doing that. Like at least not for long.
Mhm.
Because when he get tired too, it's going. Oof. But and then if them two start brawling, I just like sure if he had the right range, Tank gonna be in trouble. But I don't know. I feel like Tank gonna be like Pitbull Cruz sort of on the inside.
Word,
I
word.
don't know. I'm gonna look at more of Ryan's fights just so. But my initial feeling, obviously, I'm picking Tank. But my initial feeling is if they come up with a game plan and keep Tank on the outside and make it to where he got to jump in and throwing wild punches, there could be success for Ryan in that he can make him overreach, catch him with an uppercut. He throw great uppercuts. They look very beautiful, very fast. Yeah, man, but I don't right now I'm gonna go back and look at his fights again, but I just don't see that happening though. So I'm picking Tank.
Yeah, I feel you on that. And the thing is, with Ryan Garcia, I know that in the press conferences, was brought up multiple times that he has Hall of Fame trainer there, Joe Goosen, of course, is a 2023 International Boxing Hall of Fame inductee, and even Coach Calvin Ford there, that's the Upton camp there with Tank Davis, kind of says that he is really hyped for that type of matchup there going up against Joe Goosen. This is going to be Ryan Garcia's third fight, under the camp there, Joe Goosen. And, a couple of things that, I've seen in the two other fights that Ryan Garcia had, first, against Manuel Tego, that he had there, and then against Javier Fortuna, is that I'm trying to see what his footwork's going to be like, because of course he's a tall fighter, a rangy fighter, but his footwork doesn't necessarily match what he has as far as like his offensive output upstairs. So he's got to have some better work or do better work as far as like his foot position and figuring out where he is as far as like his distance between him and his opponent. And for me, even before all of this fight was, being talked about, when it was like a potential fight, I just felt like Tank Davis, will have like the same type of success against Ryan Garcia like he had against Leo Santa Cruz, a long rangy fighter, someone that has active hands, that throws punches in bunches and stuff like that. But Tank Davis will have a high guard, like you said, move in like he's like Esau Cruz, but of course he's going to be the much shorter fighter here. But he's going to have that high guard, swipe away a lot of the punches that Ryan Garcia has in order to get to the inside and really, throw power shots. Every one of his power shots counts and counts big. And so that is the thing that, we're very concerned about with Ryan Garcia is if he's there within mid-range or up close, how is he going to be able to deal with, the short, swift punches of Gervonta Tank Davis? And I know that Tank Davis was, talking a lot about, Ryan Garcia only has, a left hook. But I'm telling you, even if Ryan Garcia has like a jab, left hook, or right uppercut or something like that, he got to be able to withstand what's coming back to him. And when I talk about his foot positioning, I really don't think he has the stance to really take shots and, just be able to stand stationary in order to try to throw something back. I think that, it's not really about, okay, as folks say, it's not about his chin, but it's about his, overall foot position. Because a lot of times, and we've seen it in boxing, a number of knockdowns happen when a fighter is off balance. And, with Ryan Garcia, I just feel like, that especially with that knockdown that he had against Luke Campbell, he was just pretty much like, out of position there. But, as the promoter Tom Brown was saying, if Ryan Garcia gets knocked down by Tank Davis from a big shot, he's not getting back up. I still can't get over Tom Brown there in that New York press conference, talking like that. Like I've never seen him talk trash like that in any type of fight. But I know it's been, a lot of his fights have been like in-house and stuff like that. But you really don't see that, coming from Tom Brown though. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, outside of that, I mean, I think that, this particular fight, as I said, it's like a big event there that's going to be on Showtime pay-per-view. DAZN is going to carry the pay-per-view rights outside of the U.S. But, it was just, funny seeing like, well, I wouldn't necessarily say funny, but I thought it was good to see like, Leonard Ellaby there, Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins all there, and, they said that, all of this, took place, with, both of these fighters wanting to have the fight. So, to try to make the biggest fights possible, they'll, do what they do. But one thing with Ryan Garcia that kind of stood out in the press conferences, and, we keeps talking about this was, as part of the stipulations for the contract, he was talking about a 10-pound rehydration clause, outside of the thing there with the catch weight of 136 pounds. And kind of like try to emphasize that point that he had to make that particular concession to make that fight and complain about like, why do I have to add a 10-pound rehydration clause? Do you have any thoughts on that particular topic there, Boxing Academic? Because I have one thing that kind of stands out that I don't think he kind of knows about.
So, so he can only balloon up 10 pounds,
right?
And his normal walking around weight is what you think?
Well, he said the way he's talking about it, it's almost like 150 plus or above 150, something like that. I don't know. And
they fighting at what weight again?
136. It will be the weight limit for this fight.
And Tank Davis, normal weigh-in at the fight is what? I mean, Tank be about 150 himself, right? He about that size too, ain't he?
Well, around the walk around weight is like around 150, but he's there, lightweight. So he's not, even though he's had that fight against Mario Barrios, he's gonna pretty much have the rest of his career lightweight. It's like Leonard Ellaby says, Tank is 135 pounder.
Gotcha. I mean, they obviously using it for strategic purposes. I mean, it's a classic like Floyd Mayweather, the person who kind of got the most power sort of tactic. Floyd, Golden Boy. It's just it's the tactic that people use. How do I feel about it? I don't have any. I mean, I guess they trying to, have him compromise in a sense, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, if he agreed to it, then he agreed to it.
Right. And shout out live chat, still cooking. Mr. Vegas saying that, hey, I'm sure that Ryan weighs around 170 at a walk around weight. So like walk around weight of 170 pounds. I mean, he's there listed at 5'10". So I mean, he's fairly tall kid there at 24 years old. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like around 170 pounds. But for me, it's twofold here for me. Reference to Ryan Garcia, and I'll say this: Ryan Garcia, has had a good majority of his career at the lightweight limit. It's only been like his last two fights that he was, north of 135 pounds against Emmanuel Tego and against Javier Fortuna, which, both of those guys are actually lightweight fighters, but he had them, above lightweight. So there's that one thing there, right? The other thing was, it's like, well, as you said, boxing academic, if you agreed to it, if you signed on to it, then that's that. If you could have just said, you know what, this is the line that I'm drawing this at. It gotta be, more than 10 pounds. If I'm gonna get down to 136 for the win, I gotta be around like above 10, like maybe up to 15 or something like that. Then you should have just put that out there. Because if you have if you have enough power to say, hey, I'm not going to go for that 10-pound rehydration clause, then, well, that is what it is. But here's the other thing, too. And like you were saying, like multiple times they've had times where you have a rehydration clause or, something with the catch weight, rehydration clause, other fighters have done it. Canelo has pretty much like done it. That's, been notable. Also, other fighters have done it, outside of, where it's been a title fight. And the reason why I bring that up is because, if, like, for example, if there was like at a 135-pound limit, and if it was for the IBF title at 135, you could make 135, but in order for you to fight for the IBF title, your rehydration only gets up to 10 pounds. And they've had that stipulation on there for years. So it's not like it's something that's brand new, like it's been done all the time. So, for me, if you want to have that fight, if that's the stipulations that's put there in front of you, either you agree to it or you don't. And if you agree to it, if you sign on the dotted line, then that's that. Shout out to Jay Reddy there in the building with the $2 super chat. Appreciate the content. Yeah, I try to, get this stuff going and rolling on there, as far as like bringing, interviews and the podcast to y'all. So thank y'all for the support. We also, do have a Cash App for those that want to pitch in through the Cash App, $ the boxing source for those that want to pitch in through the Cash Apps. But yeah, back onto the thing there with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. Like, yeah, that whole rehydration thing, man. Like, I mean, it's almost like, yeah, you're trying to say that you can't really, try to get down to that particular weight. If you can't, then you can't. That's the thing. If you miss weight, you miss weight. But the thing about it is, with this particular event, whether you make it to 136 or you try to rehydrate a little bit above that, hey, if you want to try to bend the rules, try to bend the rules. If you feel like that's stressing you that much, I don't know if it's like a breaker that the fight's gonna get canceled. No, you like these fighters here are gonna make a substantial amount of money for this particular fight, to where a penalty that could, take place if you miss weight or if you rehydrate to like 11 pounds above or whatever it is, like you'll be able to make that up. Just be able to show up to the fight, step in the ring and have a fight there against Gervonta Tank Davis. That's pretty much all that, all that is there. So I'm sure that, there'll probably be, more about this leading into the fight coming up on April 22nd. At the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Like I said, I mean, fight sold out. Resale prices are stupid. I'm telling you, man, like good luck. Unless if you got in on the pre-sale or them regular price tickets, good luck trying to get resale ticket. it's gonna be crazy, you know. So there's that, man. There's like other news and notes there, within the sport of boxing. I know that there was talk about Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk going back and forth in reference to their contract or contract stipulations to try to get a fight made. Some people feel like say that it's signed. Others are like, I don't know. Me, I still don't know. I know that it has been pushed out or it's been reported, by certain people, but I'm not, completely sold on it. Okay. But it like seemed like they were both going over a little stipulation of a split, like a 70-30 or 60-40. And, the promoter for Alexander Usyk was saying that maybe it should be 60% for the winner and 40% for the loser. And I'm like, man, you shouldn't be having all this stuff going on when y'all were talking about this fight happening last December, so there's that. Mr. Vegas, on the chat saying the fight doesn't really excite me anyways. I think you are talking about the there between Fury and Usyk. And that is a sentiment from a good number of boxing fans, especially in the US. But it might be the sentiment of a number of fans outside of the US too, because for me, I'm like this, right? It's a fight for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. It's a fight where if Usyk wins, he would become a 2-division, 4-belt undisputed heavyweight champion. That's like a legacy fight. And you mean to tell me that they can't get the fight done? That they couldn't get the fight over the line? Like the fight should have been agreed to last month. To be honest, it should have been agreed to last month. But you have all of these guys like Frank Warren and Alex Krasnick, the promoter, saying like, we can't get this fight over the hump. They were talking about, it's going to be in Saudi Arabia, and well, that's out, And so there's only one place it could be at, and that's in the UK. And they're saying like it would be in like Wembley, over in the UK. But like I said, I mean, if either one of those guys were that much of a draw or that much of an attraction, it shouldn't be much of an issue to try to get the fight done, because, or at least with Fury in the UK, if you feel like Fury is that big in the UK, you should be able to get him a deal that's satisfactory to where he'd be able to agree to that and then have that other part of the split to Alexander Usyk and then see what he talks about. But like I said, up to a couple days ago or whatever it is, they were saying like they're struggling to get it over the hump. So yeah, I just feel like they, it just feels like they're dragging their feet as far as like getting that fight done. But I think Boxing Academic shares the same sentiment there as like Mr. Vegas in the live chat. Like, do you feel like you're really excited or pretty much interested in the fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk?
Am I like excited about that fight like I am, let's say, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence? No. At the same time, I am interested to see how, I think it's an interesting matchup in terms of styles. You got like, I think Tyson Fury called him a bunny rabbit. You got a bunny rabbit versus whatever you can call Tyson Fury, like a big mobile giant, And I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think Tyson Fury being an agile 7-footer fighting a agile 6'3" 6'4" person who probably has better boxing skills per se, but I think Tyson Fury leaning on him will affect him. And how would Tyson Fury do with somebody like boxing around the ring and using the ring and stuff. I mean, that'd be interesting to see with Tyson Fury, go to the body more. Obviously, Tyson Fury should come in there and start leaning on him, make him tired, sort of like he did the black guy who knocked Tyson Fury down way back when with the bald head.
You talking about Cunningham?
Cunningham, Kevin, yeah, Cunningham. So just like don't take no chances. I mean, am I like excited like I am for super competitive fights? No, but I think the style matchup is interesting, and so for that very fact, I'm excited.
I mean, it was like I was saying, before, and I kind of like had a segment or a video about it, in reference to this potential match. You know, it's a fight between two guys that are, clearly the number one and number two fighters in the heavyweight division. So you would have a clear cut number one fighter in the heavyweight division if these two guys fought and you had a clear winner. And yet, they're not able to, make the fight happen. But like as you said, they're boxing academic. I mean, if you're, more interested in a fight between, Errol Spence or in the Terrence Crawford, then yeah, that there's one there. But also, it's like from what I hear from multiple fans in the sport of boxing, they have other fights that are in the heavyweight division that they would rather see than a fight between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. Pretty much on paper. Like if I say Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder, they'll say easily they won't want to see that. Or something like or Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 4. They would love to see that. Or Joe Joyce against either Fury, Joshua, or Wilder. They would like to see that. So there's that. You know what I mean? But as far as like this particular fight, I don't know, man. I don't know. And that's the thing that I feel like is one of the major holdups is that I feel like either Fury or Usyk feel like they're worth more than they actually are, and that's why the fight hasn't really gotten over the finish line as of yet. Big shout outs to those just joining in the live chat here on YouTube, to Big Blunts and Boxing, and of course to the family there in the DMV, Supreme Beast Boxing Talk in the building. What's good with you? What's good with your fam or whatever it is. And just got in a question on the live chat. Any idea who will be on the Tank Davis Ryan Garcia undercard? As far as like the Showtime pay-per-view portion, not all too certain. There have been, rumblings that you could have who is it, William Zepeda, from Golden Boy's side. That will be part of the card. You could also have David Morrell Jr. Be part of the pay-per-view portion of the card as well. That could be against Jose Escatagui or someone else on there. Big Blunts and Boxing on the live chat says that Kid Austin will be on the card. He says, and I also mentioned that Jaleel Major Hackett should be scheduled to be at the on the fight card at T-Mobile Arena on April 22nd. So those are what we have there so far. Big shout out to also Steph in the building too. So shout out to y'all. But yeah, that April 22nd, pretty much, like I said, there's going to be an event. I'd like to see a few other fighters that could be on this card. I know that early, mad early when Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia was talked about to be on April. Some people felt like Jerome Boots-Ennis would be on the card, but that's not, that's not in the cards. You'll probably have Boots-Ennis defend that IBF interim title sometime later this year. So there's that. So you will see what happens as far as like more fights being part of that Showtime pay-per-view card. Like I said, you'll probably have something on the YouTube channel, so you'll have a YouTube stream. You'll be able to see a few fights on the YouTube stream. They'll possibly might have something on the Showtime portion of the card, and then go right into the Showtime pay per view. Which, if I'm not mistaken, they may be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time there instead of 9 p.m. Eastern time. So there is that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's part of a very very busy boxing schedule that's coming up. I mean, there's been a number of fights that have been on there like back to back to back, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be a crazy schedule out there. Starting on March 25th there with that Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. You got Robersy Ramirez versus Isaac Dogbe April 1st. You have Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin April 1st. Speaking of that, on the YouTube channel, pretty soon here after this is done, you'll be able to see our interview or my interview with Jermaine Franklin. So we'll have that available for y'all to watch here on the YouTube channel. So like I said, that's on April 1st. April 8th, you got Shakur Stevenson fighting Shuichiro Yoshino. Yeah, I was able to get through that. And you also have like I said, April 22nd, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. You should also has a number of fights there also on April 8th. Bam Rodriguez against Christian Gonzalez, MJ Akmadalia versus Marlon Tapales, Sebastian Fundora versus Brian Mendoza. All of those fights are, they're on April 8th. April 15th, you got heavyweights Joe Joyce versus Zalay Zhang there. And of course, I mentioned the fight there on April 22nd. April 29th, you got Iamana Stanionis versus Virgil Ortiz Jr. And May 7th, you got Stephen Fulton versus Naoya Inoue. And then you got May 13th, Alberto Puello versus Rolly Romero. And then May 20th, you got Devin Haney versus Vasily Lomachenko. It's like all of these fights coming back to back to back. Real quick though, we got the Boxing Academic's favorite guy checking in to talk here on the Boxing Source Radio Show. That's right, it's the world famous MBO in the building.
Yeah.
Man, what up?
Why he didn't give you the clap sound? Why am I the only one clapping?
I don't know. I have no idea. What's going on, Matt? Yo.
This was anticlimactic.
Yeah, it really is, man. I really can't. You can't hear nothing. You probably got on. You probably got on them Bluetooth.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, here he is up in the club again.
In the club again.
Yeah, y'all
getting you copyright strike.
Come on, see.
Getting you copyright strike.
Y'all know
the last one I didn't get any copyright strike.
Thank you, because it was in the background. Yeah. I just want to let you guys know that I lost $2.50 off that hookah smoking bum Tony Harrison. Okay, he should not be allowed back into this country after that pathetic performance that he had last night. Okay, pathetic performance. I was so angry. Like, he didn't show up. From round one, he was getting his ass beat. I don't understand what happened, man. You can't show up to a press conference with no shirt on, talking all that shit like you're about to get it done, and then you don't show up to fight. He did not show up to fight. Don't tell me that Timothy Tszyu guy is that good, because he's not. I seen him. He was wide open to get hit all night, okay? But Tony Harrison was there to collect the paycheck and lay down, and I'm done with him. All right? I'm done.
Oh man, yo, there goes the brand of the weekend right there, man. There goes the brand of the weekend. Like, you just said, like, hey, you know what? Tony Harrison just showed up. You know what I'm saying?
Piss me off.
Yo, yeah. What did you say? Piss you off, huh?
Now you got Tim Tszyu all hype talking about what's my motherfucking name. We know your name, Timothy Tszyu, okay? And Jermell Charlo gonna beat that ass. Believe that.
Yeah, he is.
Hey, listen, I said that, hey, Jermell Charlo was looking at that fight like, hey, this is barbecue chicken right here.
Yeah, man. I know he was salivating.
And I said no, it's actually Texas brisket.
Yep, Texas brisket. Yep.
Come on, man.
Yeah, he's looking at it like Texas brisket.
Come on, man.
Yeah, man. Hey. Hey, like I said, on the live chat, Big Blunts and Boxing. Yeah, I'm you probably gonna be a little.
He ain't gonna get no copyright strike, man.
Like
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. It ain't like,
come on, man.
it ain't, overtaking the joint. You know what I'm saying?
Me and Puffy
Now.
cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Hey, man. Like I said, Steph says that, hey, Tony didn't even show up. He looked down and out. It was bad. Hey, speaking of that, I didn't even bring this up initially. Why did Errol Spence do a retweet of a comment made about Tony Harrison talking about he had no legs because he did something the night before the fight? I was like, oh no.
Listen, man. Everybody is searching for reasons why Tony Harrison put up a piss poor performance. I'm just saying he just ain't been that good.
So like I was saying, like all 4 of his losses have been by late round TKOs, man. Like after the 8th round, man, he just be disappearing, man. You know what I'm saying?
Embarrassing.
Oh man. Oh, looks like someone is getting on your NVO about the pick. He said you solid though, but last couple weeks on the pick,
Hold on. Let me defend myself. My picks have been excellent. Okay. If you guys look at my actual picks over the last few weeks, okay, I've gone something like 17 and 4 over the last few weeks. My picks are just fine. Now, if you listen to Lefty Boxing Betting Show, those picks are horrible.
Yeah, that's Lazy Lefty OG, of course. There with Chicken Talk, he does have the betting show on his channel on YouTube. So y'all be sure to
don't be giving that motherfucker no promo. Stop it. I don't try to hear that shit. Some of those sorry ass picks, man. Come on, man. It's some sorry picks, man. Please.
Come on, man. Hey, man. I'm just showing support to the family. That's all I'm trying to do is just show support to the family. Oh, man. But yeah, Tony Harrison just, man, he let me down, man. I thought he was going to pull it in, man. And so much is on the line, like I said. So much is on the line. Out there, he could have been right up in there. Have a third fight with Jermell Charlo, and it almost looked like he just laid the egg out there. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh, that's just bad. You know what I mean? Let's see. See, at least on the show for Chicken Talk, somebody said, hey, they bet 20 and they won 400.
Yeah, probably when Boxer Dre was on. That was the only time anybody won.
How you what's the format? What you bet on?
Boxing, college basketball, and I personally like to bet on tennis.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I don't know about tennis, man. I ain't been on that tennis yet, man. Hey, man, what's going on, man? Hey,
Matt, why you cut the music up?
Yo, he in the bar again, man.
Somebody is about to perform gin and juice.
Oh my God, here we go. Oh man, who's trying to be smooth? All right. Oh Lord, here we go.
You at karaoke night?
Yeah, karaoke night yet again.
Matt, get up, Matt. Yo. Get up on the stage while you on the phone with us.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Matt, I'll buy you lunch or dinner or something the next time I see you.
All right, let's do it.
No, don't do it. Don't do
it.
Do it, Matt. Do it, Matt.
No, we can't have that happen on the line.
Hey, don't be hating on him, Boxing Source. Why you hating on MVO, Boxing Source?
Hey, listen. I'm not trying to have this promotion happening a day before I turn 42 years old, okay?
Let's get it.
Oh, man. Let's go.
Oh Lord, what is going on around here?
Just so y'all know.
Way too much.
Listen, I can't really hear the guy. Let me know if you say the N-word to a white boy. I just know if I need to rush the stage.
Oh,
That's funny.
well, hey, I think at least I should know the answer to this question. Well, I do
What's the
know the
question?
answer to this question. Who is Matt's favorite boxer of all time?
Oh, come on. What kind of question is that?
Hey, that's what they post on our chat.
Everybody know the answer to that. His name is Deontay LaShawn Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, the Alabama Slammer, the Slim Reaper.
Okay, so there's that, man. Hey, man. So, hey, but yo, on the real though, that background music is kind of hard, man. I can't really roll with that. So,
All right. Let me mute my mic real quick.
Yo, I'm gonna have to. That's gonna have to be cleaned up a little bit there for the reposting on the iTunes and Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music might give me a strike while I'm in the background music going down.
But you can appeal it and say it was not like the real thing. It was like karaoke though.
It was karaoke. It was background music stuff. You know what I'm saying? But either that or I could do some audio modifications or whatever it is. But still, man. But yeah, that's mostly what I got going down, man. For this week, man. Shoot, they ain't really nothing for next week coming up, man. Damn, that kind of sucks though. Oh wow, wait a minute. There's like two big beefy men bumping meat or whatever it is. Oh, Jermell Miller's coming back this next weekend. Jermell Miller versus Lucas Brown. Oh my God. So yep, that's coming up. Like I said, Jermell Miller there, of course, is a fighter that's under Salida Promotion. Shout out to Demetrius Salida. But yeah, Jermell Miller is back in the game, heavyweight game against Lucas Brown. They're in the heavyweight division. They are ranked in I think it's the WBA ranking. So maybe, the winner gets to climb up in the ranks there a little bit more. So that is coming up on Saturday as well. And Gabe Rosado has like another fight coming up against Zurdo Ramirez. So there is that. But other than that, I'm looking forward to March 25th, David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. Over in Las Vegas. That card there is going to be very good. Jesus Ramos against Joey Spencer, Cody Crowley against Abel Ramos, and Chris Colbert against Jose Valenzuela. That is going to be a really, really good card. So definitely looking forward to that. With that being said, that's about an hour, almost like an hour and 20 minutes into this particular podcast. For those that watch live here on YouTube, if you like the content, you can hit the like button. We really appreciate it. And of course, if you want to support the movement of the Boxing Source, you can hit the Cash Apps. They're the $, the Boxing Source there for anyone that wants to support that way.
Can I say something?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, never mind. It's too like that. Never mind. I don't say anything anymore.
Hey, man. But yeah, so like I said, man, that's it for this version of the Boxing Source radio show. Like I said, I'll be chilling. Of course, 40. Man, I'm old. 42 tomorrow. God dog. But like I say, man, at the end of every show, folks, the point of boxing is to hit and not get hit, not to stand and trade. On that note, folks, I'm out. Have a good evening, everybody.